Have you ever noticed how some knits just quietly work their way into your everyday life? Not because they're the most technically impressive or the trendiest pattern, but simply because they fit. They fit your body, your wardrobe, your daily routines, and before you know it, you've worn them a dozen times without even thinking about it. That's really been on my mind lately. The joy of the wearable knits, the sweaters and tees that just don't live folded in a drawer or are posted in a project photo, but actually come with me throughout my days. Hi, and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Mari, and I'm a knitter and maker based here in beautiful Bergen. Here, I sew, knit, and I create garments that brings me joy and fit seamlessly into my life. For me, patterns are more suggestions than rules. I love tweaking them to make garments that suit my life and my wardrobe. I love giving patterns that little twist, changing the construction, adjusting the shape, swapping out yarns, or adding a personal detail that make it the final piece feel like me. I hope that through this podcast, I can share my processes with you and maybe give you the permission to break a few rules yourself. So whether you're a seasoned knitter or just picking up your first pair of needles, I want this space to feel like a cozy sit down with a crafty friend. In this episode, I thought I'd share a little glimpse into what's been on my needles and what's been getting the most wear. I'll chat about a few recent whips, a new cast on that I'm actually a bit torn about, and of course those well-loved knits that just keeps finding their way into my outfits. So if you are a knitter like me that cares about making things you'll really live in, I think you'll feel right at home in this conversation. Today I'm wearing my yellow Zweig. It's a design by Caitlin Hunter that's been around since 2017, but it still feels timeless every time I reach for it. It's a fingering weight yoke sweater knit from the top down, and it's got all the things that make my knitter's heart so happy. Lace work, color work, texture. Honestly, it's like a greatest hits album, but for sweaters. There's something about yoke sweater, isn't there? I think it's the way they feel both relaxed and beautiful at the same time. The shape is classic, it's timeless, and a little bit nostalgic. And when it's worked up in soft fingering weight yarn, it just drapes so gently. It's not heavy, not too fragile. It's one of those knits that make you feel like yourself in the best way. For this version, I've used Retrosaria Mondim, dyed by the wonderful Aimée. The color is called Yellow Brick Road, and I have paired it with this soft white called Smoke. If you haven't came across the Mondim base before, it's a non-superwash fingering weight yarn made from fine Portuguese wool. I love that it's named after a tiny village in Portugal that's known for its sock knitting. There's something about that connection to tradition that feels extra special to me. But the real reason I reach for this yarn again and again is the way it feels in my hands. It's woolly, yes, but there's that bit of rustic texture that I love in a good sheepy yarn, but it's still soft and approachable. It's not too scratchy, it's not too stiff, and because it's tightly spun, the stitch definition is just beautiful. It's perfect for a sweater like Zweig, where lace and textures is really the main focus, and this yarn makes those details sing. The yarn has about 385 meters per 100 grams. The lace sections looks crisp and defined, but the fabric still holds that gentle, natural bounce that I think only wool can give. And can we talk for a moment about this color? This golden yellow, it's the happiest shade. It feels like wearing a little patch of sunshine on my shoulders. Every time I put it on, I notice my mood lifts just a little bit. It really makes those gray days feel just a little bit less gray. So yes, this sweater is a favorite. The pattern is a joy to knit, and the yarn is a dream. The color just radiates warmth. It's everything I love about handmade clothing. It's comfort, creativity, and a bit of quiet magic wrapped up in stitches. But now, let's get into my works in progress. And first up is the Venilia Tee. The Venilia Tee by Sari Nordland feels like summer in every possible way. It's light, it's airy, and it's beautifully effortless. It's a top-down tee with a delicate lace yoke that just adds the right amount of detail without tipping into fussy territory. The lace is really what caught my eye right away. It's soft, it's structured, and it got that timeless quality about it. The kind of feature that quietly lifts a simple tee into something a little bit more special. What I love most about this design is how easy I can imagine it as a part of my everyday wardrobe. The shape is relaxed and flattering with a little thoughtful detail that feels so intentional. It works just as well layered over a sundress as it does paired with a simple pair of linen trousers, which to me is the sign of a garment I'll get a lot of wear from. It's light enough to reach for on quite warm days, but it's versatile enough to carry into colder seasons too. It's got that effortless look, but it feels quietly elegant, which is exactly the combinations I'm always searching for. For yarn, again, I'm using Retrosaria Mondim dyed by the amazing team at La Bien-Aimée. Mondim is a non-superwash fingerweight wool. It's tightly spun, so it gives incredible stitch definition. Just like on my Zweig, this lace really comes out crisp and beautifully defined. But the fabric still has that soft, natural movement that makes wool so wearable. It's lightweight, it breathes, and it feels alive in the best possible way. And this color, oh, this color, Yellow Brick Road. I think I might just have found my yarn soulmate. It strikes that perfect balance between earthy and playful, punchy enough to stand out but soft enough to wear often. I already have two beloved projects in this colorway, my yellow Zweig, which I've already been gushing about, and a brioche fade sweater where this shade holds everything together at the base. So when I cast on for the Venilia Tee, there was really no question. This color feels like home to me. The little variation this time is I'm using Yellow Brick Road Graffiti, which has this subtle speckle. It's been such a joy to knit on this project throughout the summer. There's something about both the color and the structure of this tee that just makes me want to keep knitting. The lace pattern is engaging without being overwhelming. It's not too repetitive, which means I keep thinking just one more round and maybe another one after that. And the yarn is light and easy to carry along wherever I go. I did wonder if knitting with wool in the heat might feel too heavy or uncomfortable, but honestly, it's been perfect. It's light in my hands, it's easy to tuck into a bag, and it's suiting to work on in quiet moments. I did have a little restart moment with this one. I realized after beginning that the size I chose looked a bit too open in the neckline, so I frogged back and cast it on a smaller size. I'm still a bit curious on how it will fit once it's blocked, especially around the neck. Circular yokes can sometimes be a bit tricky for me since my shoulders are fairly narrow. I find that yokes often increase stitches quite quickly, which can lead to a fit that's not always ideal for my frame. But when it works, it really works. My Zweig and my Love Note sweaters are proof of that. They sit beautifully. I have a good feeling this one will turn out just fine. My hope is for a light, breezy top I can wear throughout spring and summer. And I'm adding a few extra short rows after the lace just to lift up the back neckline just slightly. I don't mind an open neckline, but I do prefer when things stay put rather than start shifting too far at the back. I don't think it's going to be a problem here, but those little adjustments helps me feel more confident in the final fit. All in all, this project feels like a slow, happy nod to summer knitting. Thoughtful, light, and full of small joys. Now, next up is the Isabella Sweater. The Isabella Sweater feels like a bit of a love letter to all the quiet behind-the-scenes work I've done over the years to refine how I make garments that fit my body. It's the kind of work that doesn't really show up in the final project photos. It's tucked away in a spreadsheet that's full of gauge calculations, shaping formulas, and little tweaks I gathered after project. Every time I cast on something new for myself, I come back to that trusted document. It's where all my knitting math lives, and it's what helps me turn number on a screen into sweaters that truly work for me. For this design, I've leaned into one of my favorite constructions, the classic raglan construction. It's a shape I know well, and it offers so much flexibility, which means I get to focus on the little details that make the biggest difference. The kind of choices that turn a sweater from just another knit into something I'll reach for again and again. One of my personal knitting rules, and something I come back to every time I make a raglan, is that I don't always follow the standard increase every other round rule. Instead, I let the body guide the shaping. That means balancing the neckline, the body stitch count, the sleeve stitch count, and the overall yoke depth to work with my proportions. So On this one, I have added a few extra increases only on the body early on to create a good fit for me. Neat throughout the shoulders and sleeve, but still with enough ease where I really need it. Another small intentional choice is that I've worked the neckline flat rather than relying on short rows. Over time, I learned that this method simply fits my frame better. It creates an open neckline in the front with just enough lift at the back to feel balanced and wearable. It's a shape I know I enjoy wearing, and it lays the perfect foundation for that future collar detail I'm planning. Design-wise, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from this hack I did on my Tegna, the romantic little collar. I'm thinking of doing something similar here, but with a new lace pattern. I plan to pick up stitches along the neckline and then knit the collar right onto the sweater. I'm revisiting a lace motif I improvised a while back on a purple blouse. It's a kind of a cable meets lace situation that grows in size as it goes. I'm thinking of echoing that pattern on the belt sleeves too, as a fun detail to finish off the belt sleeves I've already planned. Now let's talk about the yarn. This colorway, Lisa, is something really special. It's a rich, deep pink with subtle burgundy undertones, giving it so much depth and sophistication. The soft gray accents running throughout adds a quiet balance. It's bold, but it's never overwhelming. And it's one of those shades that feels very versatile for everyday wear, but still brings a little drama. The yarn itself is Helix by La Bien-Aimée, a light, lofty lace weight yarn spun just for them. It blends Falkland merino with Gotland wool, which gives it that gentle sheen and the tiniest hint of a halo. There's a quiet luxury to this yarn. It's something about the depth of the color and the way it catches the light. In the last episode, I mentioned I was considering adding a contrast color on the sleeves and collar. This soft, playful pink called Ichigo. It's a gentle shade with this brighter speckles, and it really does have a bit of personality. I thought it might add a sweet touch to the deeper tones of Lisa and bring something unexpected to the sweater. But now, I'm not sure. I keep coming back to this feeling that maybe it would be a bit too much. Sometimes a sweater is stronger when it stays in one color, especially when the color itself already has so much depth and interest. I don't want to overcomplicate something that already feels right and overpower the design element I'm planning. I haven't fully decided yet, but there's no need to rush. One of those things that I love most about knitting, you can sit with these little decisions, try things on, change your mind a dozen times if you want to. I'd love to hear what you think though. Does the idea of adding a soft contrast sound fun to you? Or do you agree that this one might shine best just as it is? For now, this has become my easy go-to knit. I'm calmly working my way down the body. No shaping needed after separating for the sleeves. It's such a joy to have something simple on my needles alongside project that ask for a bit more focus. I tried this one in the last episode, so I already know it's going to have that close fitted shape I was hoping for, and I'm really happy with how it's coming together. Trying this on was such a boost. The first time I slipped it on, right after separating for the sleeves, it did feel a bit snug. But honestly, that's pretty normal for me at that stage. Things always feels a little tight at that moment. So I just kept going, and I'm so glad I did. Because it comes together beautifully. The fit across the body feels just right. The raglan shaping is spot on. It's always such a joy when things turn out the way you hoped. Now, I'm going to knit a bit more before diving into the details I've been so excited about. My last whip is the Diona Tee. The Diona Tee really ticks all the boxes for me. It's light, it's elegant, and it strikes that perfect balance between clean and beautiful. From the moment I saw the design, I knew it had the kind of thoughtful construction and subtle texture I'm always drawn to. What makes this pattern so special, I think, is the way the cable motif flows so gracefully down both the front and the back. It adds just the right amount of texture, enough to keep things interesting without overpowering the simplicity of the shape. And then, balanced against that texture, there's the 2x2 ribbing, running along the sides and the sleeves. This structural detail helps the silhouette looking neat and intentional, but still easygoing. It feels polished but never too formal. This is the kind of knit I love having in my wardrobe, something that looks intricate but feels completely relaxed to wear. It's the kind of piece that you can dress up with a skirt or keep casual with jeans. And either way, you know you're going to feel comfortable and put together. For yarn, I'm finally giving a bit of long overdue love to a very special skein. This is a luxury silk and blue flaked Leicester mix based from the Wool Kitchen. A beautiful blend of shine and strength, softness and structure. BFL is a great fiber to work with. It's a British breed with a long staple length, known for its durability, but also for its gentle hand. And when you add silk into the mix, it becomes truly luxurious. The silk gives it that lovely sheen and a little hint of drape, and together with the BFL creates a fabric that feels soft but holds its shape so well. This yarn has quietly been waiting patiently in my stash since Edinburgh Yarn Fest back in 2019. I know, it's been quietly trapped in an UFO for years now. But this tee felt like the perfect match, so I frogged the UFO. And now I'm ready for something simple, something elegant, something worthy of finally bringing this yarn into the light. The color, it's stunning. It's a soft muted blue with these tiny coppery speckles shaded throughout. It's subtle, but it catches the light in the most beautiful way. And I can already tell it's going to make this tee look polished and a little bit special. I have just separated for the sleeves, and I'm ready to carry on with the body. That's always one of those small milestones I look forward to. It feels like the sweater really starts to take shape at that point. Since the last time I shared this project, I made steady, quiet progress. I found that this is a knit I really need to pick up when I'm in the right frame of mind. Not rushed, not distracted. The cables do ask for a bit more attention, but they've also been a good reminder to slow down and enjoy the process. Some evenings it's just a round or two, but even that feels like progress. I love projects like this. The ones that reminds you that there's no hurry. It's just stitches adding up quietly until one day you have something beautiful to wear. When I tried on this earlier, it felt just a little snug, but I remind myself of two things. First, the fit always feels a bit off right after I separate for the sleeves. It's just a tricky stage and things tend to feel a bit tighter than they really are. Second, I know this yarn and most cables really. They stretch a bit with blocking. So with those two things in mind, I'm feeling pretty confident that this piece will end up being just the right size. Now let's get into some acquisitions, because I've been so inspired lately by other knittings with the beautiful Madara yarn from Noro. For example, aka Nora Knits has been working on a stunning long cardigan, and I've also seen Any Knits makes a gorgeous grey vest in a similar yarn from Junction Fiber Mill, full of colorful tweed flax. So I really wanted to make something along those lines myself. When I discovered Isager has a similar yarn, the Aran Tweed in the color Confetti, I knew this was my chance. Isager Aran Tweed is a beautifully rustic, chunky, single ply yarn with natural, rugged texture that brings character to every stitch. It's perfect for cozy, durable outdoor sweaters. It also shines in home decor projects like throws or cushions. When held together with silk mohair, Aran Tweed transforms beautifully into soft, warm scarves and hats with depth and texture. Though the color range is intentionally limited, you'll be surprised how it comes alive combined with other yarns, opening up endless possibilities for creative color play. This yarn is made from 100% wool. It's spun and dyed in Ireland. Each 100 grams skein contains approximately 160 meters of yarn. As a single ply yarn, it offers a beautifully organic structure and feel. I am planning to use it by itself and I cannot wait. And that brings me right into my new cast on. It's called the Slanting Slipover, a rustic yet elegant vest, defined by these beautifully graphic lines that sweeps across the shoulders and flows down the sides. It's finished up with a subtle little side slit at the hem, which gives the whole piece this relaxed, wearable finish. What I love most about this design is how it balances structure with softness. The silhouette feels timeless, that classic vest shape, but the lines give it that slightly modern twist, a fresh energy, if you will. It's understated and thoughtful, the kind of piece you could wear in 100 different ways, layered or kept simple. The structure is really satisfying too. It's worked from the top down, starting with the collar. After that, stitches are picked up for the shoulders, and short rows help shape the upper body for a fit that sits just right. The front and back are worked separately to the base of the armhole when everything is joined in the round to knit the body. Towards the hem, the construction shifts again, with the front and back worked flat to create those neat side slits. I love how each step feels purposeful and how the shape gradually reveals itself as you go. But of course, I am making a few little tweaks, as I always seem to do. I've decided to work the collar double because I love the polished, slightly weightier looks it gives. It feels a bit more intentional and a bit more finished. I'm also toying with the idea of leaving the sides open and fastening them with a single button under each arm. But I haven't fully committed to that yet. But I keep coming back to the idea. It feels like a small, unexpected detail that would make this piece truly my own. For me, these tiny adjustments are part of the joy. It's not just about following a pattern, it's about shaping it so it fits my body, my wardrobe, and my personal style. At first glance, the slanting slipover looks simple, but it's full of those quiet, thoughtful details that elevate it from a basic to something really special. But we do need to talk about the sizing of the slanting slipover and what happened after I knitted the swatch, bought the pattern, and sat down to choose my size. That's when I noticed. This pattern only goes up to a bust circumference of 112 centimeters. And to be honest, I was surprised. I'm used to not finding my sizes in store. As a plus size woman, I've grown up assuming that clothes and shops aren't really made for me in mind. And if I want something that fits, I probably need to go online. But in the knitting world, I've actually come to expect more. Most of the time, I do find patterns that work for my body, and I know that's a privilege. My sizing usually falls somewhere between a bust circumference of 120 and 140. Being able to make clothes that fit my body and that I actually like is one of the most empowering parts of this craft for me. I've built a wardrobe that doesn't feel like a compromise, and not something I settle for because it was the only thing that fit, but something I choose, shape, and stitch with care. I get to decide the fibers I want against my skin, and I get to be picky. I get to make something that feels like me. So when this vest didn't include my size, it brought me back to the teenager in the shopping center, drifting between stores with my friends. They found things they loved, I searched too, but I mostly stood outside the fitting rooms, hoping but not expecting to find something for me. In a way, this pattern felt like it wasn't made for me either. Now, let me be clear, I can modify this. I have the skills, but a part of me thinks that that is a privilege too. So here's the compromise I've come to. I'm going to knit this pattern. I'm going to walk you through how I adopt it in case it's useful for someone else. But going forward, I want to be more intentional about only knitting from designers who prioritize size inclusivity. That means letting go of some beautiful patterns, including the diamond jumper from the same designer that I have on my 2025 knitting plans. It's disappointing, yes, but I believe I'll find or make something that's even better. I am aware it can be challenging to find testers in bigger sizes, especially for new designers. But honestly, for designers who are well known and successful, I do think it's possible and important to find test knitters across all sizes. The resources are out there. This isn't a perfect solution, and I'd really love to hear your thoughts. But once I started reflecting on this, I know I wanted to share it. I hope this process of adjusting, adapting, and reclaiming space might feel empowering for someone else too. Because while I do want to use this platform to lift up size-inclusive designers, I also want to remind you, don't let anyone else decide what you can or can't wear. If a pattern doesn't fit and you want it, change it. Bend it until it works. Make it yours. That's what I'm doing with this vest, and it would be helpful. I will be happy to make a more in-depth tutorial on how I approach this one, and more generally how to adopt any pattern for a larger body. So here's where I'm at with my slanting slipover so far. My body has narrow shoulders and waist and more volume throughout the hips and belly. So for a piece like this, with no dropped shoulder and that's more fitted, it's really important that it sits right against the shoulders. Not too wide, not too tight, not pulling and not sagging. That's why I decided to cast on a smaller size. I was aiming for something around a 120 centimeter bust, and then gradually increase to get around the size of the 135 centimeter bust. Since this pattern only goes up to 112, I had to make adjustments right away. I left the neckline rib as written, but I added 10% more stitches at the shoulders edges. That gives me about 5% more stitches in total for the front and the back, which adds about 6 centimeters to the size. Enough that the rib still fits and stretches nicely, getting me closer, and it's getting me closer to that 120 centimeter bust I was aiming for. And I'll add more width when I need it. Next, I'll knit a bit further and then calculate the increases as I need them. I'll walk you through the whole way, slowly, in case you want to try something similar, and let me know if you want that more in-depth tutorial. For my most worn knit segment at the end of the episode, I wanted to dedicate some time to the pieces I've been wearing the most the past month. As you probably know by now, my whole knitting philosophy really centers on creating garments that I'll actually use and love, even if it means adopting patterns, rethinking construction, or changing the course halfway throughout the project. I really believe in being intentional with what I make, because that's what leads to a wardrobe that feels practical, wearable, and well-loved. Tracking which knits gets the most wear has become a useful practice for me. It helped me refine the kinds of projects I take on, the yarns I choose, and even the shapes and colors I gravitate towards. Some knits settle naturally into my everyday rotation, while others, well, they don't always work out the way I thought they might. But that's all a part of the learning process. By sharing this little reflection with you, I hope to offer a glimpse into how these handmade pieces fit into my daily life, and maybe even inspire you to think about your own most loved knits in a new way. My Ingrid sweater has been a knit I've worn the most the past month. This pattern, designed by Petite Knit, is worked seamlessly from the top down in a series of textured stitch patterns. It starts with the back shaped with short rows for that gentle, flattering shoulder slope. Stitches are then picked up for each shoulder, shaped again with short rows, and joined at the front neckline. Once the front and back come together under the arms, the body is worked in the round, creating a clean, timeless silhouette. Sleeves are picked up and worked in the round too, making this a satisfying, seamless knit from start to finish. What really sets this sweater apart, and why I keep reaching for it, is the texture. The design moves throughout 3 distinct texture segments. Separated by delicate eyelet lace. The result is a fabric that feels both light and substantial, detailed but easy to wear. It's that perfect combination of structure and softness. I choose the yarn Vidde from Hillesvåg. It's a blend of 80% lamb's wool and 20% pelt wool. It's such a special yarn, offering the softness and bounce of lamb's wool with the gentle halo and the quiet sheen of pelt wool. It feels rustic in all the right ways, but never scratchy. It's cozy, characterful, and the kind of yarn that makes every stitch feel a little bit more meaningful. I love it for garments that I reach for again and again. The color Pudder is a soft muted blush with earthy undertones. Not quite pink, not quite beige, but something beautifully balanced between the two. I love how it adds warmth without shouting for attention, and how even the simplest outfits feel a little bit softer with this layered on top. What makes this sweater such a staple is how effortlessly wearable it is. The neutral color, the simple boxy shape and texture, it works with everything. Whether I'm dressing it up or just throwing it over for a cozy day at home. It's been perfect for those cooler summer evenings when I want a bit of warmth without feeling weighed down. The other knit that's been in heavy rotation this month is my yellow Zweig. What makes this piece so perfect for July is how versatile it is. The fit is relaxed, the fabric is light, and the shape works beautifully either tucked into trousers or layered over dresses. And of course, the color. This warm golden yellow brings such a cheerful note to any outfit. It's bright without being loud, sunny without being overwhelming, and it's become a bit of a mood booster for me. While the second half of July has been far too warm for wool, the earlier part of the month sweater has been my go-to for layering. It offers just enough warmth for a cooler day without feeling stuffy, and it has that easy wearable quality that makes it work in so many different settings. And yes, this is the third mentioning La Bien-Aimée Mondim in the color Yellow Brick Road in this episode, so I think it's safe to say I really love it. There's something about this yarn, the stitch definition, the lightness, the bounce that keeps bringing me back. I'm honestly looking forward to having 2 tops in this yarn and color very soon. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It's always such a joy to share these little glimpses of my knitting life with you. I hope this episode has given you a bit of inspiration, whether it's for your next cast on or simply to notice which of your own handmade pieces you're really reaching the most for these days. If you've been enjoying the textures of the Venilia Tee or the thoughtful construction of the Isabella Sweater, I think you really love my video on how I made my wedding dress. It's full of lace, shaping, and all of those tiny intentional details, just on a slightly grander scale. I'll leave the link here on the screen if you'd like to watch that one. And if you'd like to follow along with more of my projects in between episodes, you can always find me over on Instagram. I've shared a lot of little updates there, from what's on my needles to the small moments that inspire my making. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love if you'd subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until next time, keep knitting what brings you joy.